my name's Annette, and you may know me as Nettersplays, and today I'm going to go over my acquisitions and impressions for the month of July. Now, I gathered a total of 14 different games, and I managed to play 10 of those games. So I did pretty good this month, so let me go over the unplayed games first, and then I'll go over my played games later, where I'll go ahead and elaborate a little bit more and show you exactly what I thought about them, if I like them or not. So let's get to it. So my first unplayed game that I'll go over is actually an expansion, and it's called the Terraforming Mars Hellas and Elysium expansion. It's exploring the other side of Mars, and all it is just a game board itself. So you can add this to your already great Terraforming Mars game, and then you can go ahead and make it a little bit more variable because the icons on Mars are a little different because they're at different locations. Another cool thing about this board too is that in the game you also are awarded milestones and awards, and then you can go ahead and claim them throughout the game. However, with the expansion, they are a little bit different, so it becomes even more variable itself in that way. It doesn't add anything different with card or resources, or even the way to end the game as far as collecting oceans or raising the temperature or oxygen. That's all the same. The only thing that it promises is just the end of game goals, the additional points for milestones, and the iconography positions on the board itself. So that I thought was a really good, small, tiny expansion. However, it offered a lot of variability. I haven't played it yet, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's an easy game that I can just apply to Terraforming Mars, where I don't have to learn new rules or anything like that. I just have to learn, what are the new awards or milestones, and just look at the board and say, I want to go here and there. So I think it'll be an easy game to kind of play. Unfortunately, I got it at the end of the month, so I haven't played it yet. But I'm really looking forward to this new expansion for Terraforming Mars. So the next game I'm going to go over is an unplayed game by the name of Trickster Champion of Times. Now, this game is by Daniel Solis, who also did Kodama as well. And also, the artwork is by Beth Sobel, which I love her artwork. She's done things like Viticulture and now Champions of Time. The cool thing about the artwork itself in this game is the fact that it offers a diverse group of people on the cards themselves. And the artwork is just beautiful, and it's great to see all these diverse representations of all these different characters, and even a dog in this game. So it's just like, it's kind of refreshing just looking at the cards themselves. Now, the gameplay itself that Daniel Solis brought into this deck of cards is a trick-taking game. However, it's a little bit different because a leader is going to go ahead and play a card, and usually everyone follows and tries to play whatever the leader set up as a trick. However, the trickster, the person to their left, is going to play a card to either follow suit or not follow suit with that, and then they will set the trick. So it's a little bit different, and it's kind of figuring out how to play your cards well and trying to be a trickster in the game and not wind up with all these cards in front of you at the end of the game, because cards are points and you want the least number of points. So I'm looking forward to trying this game out, and hopefully I can get a bigger group than just 2 people. I think it'll probably be better at 4 players. So I'm looking for more players to play with this game. It's called Trickster. My next unplayed game is a game that I've been searching for quite a while, and I've been interested in this game since it was on Kickstarter, but unfortunately I didn't back it. So now I've managed to pick it up. I talked to the publisher, and they sent a bunch of games to Miniature Market, and I managed to pick one up there. So the game itself is called Oilfield. Now, Oilfield, the game, is something that I've been interested in because it was designed by a Spanish designer, by Paco Yanes. And the cool thing about this game itself is that it's a Spanish designer, and it was designed by a Spanish publisher, which is not very common. I usually hear, publishers that are German or, American, North American. And so I'm not very familiar with like Spanish or even like publishers from Latin America or Spanish-speaking countries. So this is why I've been interested in this game. Now, another cool thing about the game itself is that it's all about building an oil field in Texas in its prime of the oil boom. So the cool thing about this game is that you get to simultaneously select cards to play, because every player is going to have two actions to do. One action is a public action, which they pick and choose where they want to put their player on the board publicly, and then they're going to go ahead and select something secret to do, which it's the same actions that they just picked, however it's secret. No one's going to know what they're going to do. So it can kind of mess up a little bit of the positioning of the order of operations with things of how they're going to be played out. The cool thing about this game is that you kind of partially know what someone's going to do, but you also, there's a little bit of hidden kind of information that you don't know until everyone simultaneously plays their cards. I thought that was a little interesting, and plus the whole Spanish speaking duo of the publisher and the designer, I thought it was just a game I really wanted. So that itself is called Oilfield. So the next game that I didn't manage to play is this game called Lignum. Now, as you can see, this game is all about being a lumberjack, and I was super interested in this theme itself. Actually, I'm not. What really interested me into this game was the way that it played, the mechanisms involved in it. And that's why I picked this game up. It's not so much because of the theme, but because of how it's played. So, how is it played? What you do on this board is, it's supposed to represent like being a lumberjack back in the day, and what you had to do is you had to go ahead and climb this mountain, and you had to go to where the trees are. And before you go there, you have to make sure you pick up your necessary equipment. Like people, you know, you need certain types of woodcutters with saws and money, and you know, all these different ways of exporting the logs afterwards too. So you need tools and all that kind of stuff, and ways of transportation. And then you go into this certain phase of the game where you're picking and choosing what fields to cut down with what you picked up along the way. And so that part's really interesting because there's like 6 different fields you can go to, and you get to pick and choose simultaneously with other players. So if you pick the same field as someone else, then you don't get the whole lot. You actually get half of the lot. You have to split it up with someone else. So it's kind of a second guessing game in that aspect. And then of course there's the resource management that you do after you collect, and kind of figure out what to do with the wood that you've collected. You know, should you sell it or keep it for later and make sure that it becomes a little bit more valuable next time. So there's a lot of planning from what I hear in this game, and that's something that really interests me. And I'm really interested in just kind of figuring out how the game plays and how to get better with it. So this is a really cool like mechanism that I'm interested in, and also it has seasons. So you play through 2 years, I believe, and the spring, summer, and fall are the same, but then the winter time comes and things are a little bit more scarce and things are a little bit harder to do because of winter time, of course. So I thought that was really interesting. So definitely looking to play this game. I want to play it with more players because the second guessing part, simultaneous selection, is a little bit more interesting with more players. So I don't necessarily want to play it with 2 players. I want to play it with more, and that's why I haven't played it yet. But definitely I'm interested in trying out Lignum. So the next 2 games are pretty much the same. They belong in a series, and they are the exit games. I got the Abandoned Cabin along with the Secret Lab, and I managed to play them with 6 players. So it was a pretty big table, however we really had a lot of fun. And if you're not familiar with exit game, these type of games, it's pretty much an escape the room kind of game where you're giving a certain set of riddles inside the box. Everything is there for you to utilize, and then you go ahead and figure out the clues and figure out the riddles and try to put it all together and then come up with answers. And if those answers are correct, you keep on progressing and progressing until you play out all of the riddle cards, and that means you win the game or you get out of the room. So the cool thing about this exit game series is the fact that it's a co-op, and it's something that I'm not really interested in. However, I thought it was really fun, so it surprised me because of that. And if you're not familiar or you haven't tried these games, I would highly suggest trying out the Exit Game series because it's something that's just a lot of fun. It could be a little bit difficult with a few players, like maybe a solo or two-player game, but you should definitely try it with a bigger group because I had way more fun as a 6-player count versus a 2-player count. 2-player count was fine, but it was a little difficult. So definitely, if you haven't tried the Exit Game series, I highly recommend it. And it even was the game of the year for the Spiel des Jahres. So definitely check that out. Another game that I also managed to play this month is called Dairyman. Now, as you can see by the box cover, the artwork is so cute. Basically, you're a farmer and you're pretty much getting dairy products on your farm. You're a dairy farmer. And what you do is you pretty much collect milk products and you either freeze them and change them to higher value dairy products like cheese and ice cream. So the game itself is a dice roller where you're trying to roll dice and get exactly a value of 10. Some of the tiles themselves are valued 10 and they go all the way up to value 40. So you have 3 tiles set up and then you go ahead and try to get one of those 3 or multiple tiles and put them in a tableau. They'll give you special abilities and such, so you can use them in further rolls. And it's a really interesting little dice roller where I felt like it was something light and easy I can play. However, I just ended up not liking the game, and that's very unfortunate because I picked these games up thinking I'd really like them, and unfortunately this is one that I really didn't like at all because I just felt like I got stuck. So there's several times in the game where I would just get stuck at certain points because all the tiles that were available were all values of 40. And if you get those high value tiles in the beginning of the game where you have no special abilities to manipulate your die rolls, then you're pretty much going to have a tough time trying to get those tiles. So I felt like the game itself was just, it led to just the game kind of stalling at certain points, and I really disliked that. And it didn't just happen once, but it happened through several different plays with different players. And so because of that, I just felt like the game was stale, and it was unfortunate because I really wanted to like this game because it looks so cute, but in the end, I thought the game was just not great. I really disliked it. So that's the game of Dairyman. So another game that I managed to play too is called Tiny Epic Quest. Now, Tiny Epic Quest is a part of the Tiny Epic game series. This one is different because it's supposed to be an adventure game. And the really cool thing about this game, by far, is the item meeples. So this is the first time, I think, that meeples have been incorporated in order to hold different types of weapons by actually getting the weapons and pushing them into the meeple, and then it looks like they're holding weapons. And you venture through the whole map system and you do all these different quest things like, you know, go to a temple, or you try to learn spells, or you try to defeat goblins with these different little weapons. And I thought that was amazing, and that's why I mainly picked up this game. So besides that itself, the item meeples are just really great. I can't wait to see them in different games as well. But the cool thing about this game too is the fact that it's like an adventure system, which I really don't have a game like that where you're kind of questing and going around and stuff, but there's a lot of dice rolling involved in this game. It's not something I do a lot. I'm more interested in like the worker placements, kind of like action selection, like heavier card driven games. But dice games, for this one, yeah, you're adventuring through these different lands. It's all variable. They could be different locations at all these different times. And what you're trying to do is you have 5 days where you're venturing through the days by moving your meeples in certain areas by using these cards that are movement cards. So during the day, you're kind of trekking and placing your meeples in certain areas. And then the nighttime comes, the night phase comes. And what you do is you roll a whole bunch of dice and you hope to either defeat goblins, not get injured, learn spells, not get injured, gain different kind of, or trek through temples and kind of get the temple benefits and acquire new weapons. So there's a lot of cool different things that you could do. I thought it was a fun little light game. So it's not heavy strategy. It's a game that you kind of, you know, can go out there and say, okay, let's go on a little trek and quest and not take too serious because those die rolls are harsh. And so I had a lot of fun playing this game because there's some strategy in positioning yourself in correct ways, but sometimes because you acquire a quest card and then the next card you draw is something you can also like acquire for the next player, well, they get that card for free because it's pretty much, they're already in that position. So there's something odd with that kind of play because it was just too random in a sense. So definitely it's a more lighter game. The item pools, accessories is amazing. The gameplay is a lot of rolls, a lot of luck. So definitely it's something different, but I really thought it was kind of cool and interesting. So if you're looking for something different and interesting, or for a game with a lot of rolls and kind of trekking around, you should definitely check out Tiny Epic Quest. So my next played game is another 2-player game, and that is called Caverna Cave vs. Cave. Now, this is a 2-player only game, and it's by Uwe Rosenberg. Now, this one right here is in the world of Caverna, which is another one of his big games. However, it's a lot different. This game itself does have resource conversions and management, and you're trying to use those resources to acquire different rooms. And the rooms that you're acquiring them in order to build a better cave than your opponent. Now, before you build in your cave, you need to excavate. So these tiles will come out and they will be turned into rooms and available for both players. So as you're excavating and taking out all this rubble out of your place in order to build rooms, you're making them available for both players. So the tiles come out at different times because you really don't know what you're going to turn over. So I really like that part of the game because every game is different based upon what you're excavating. Those tiles come out at different times, so you can't really depend on, you know, I hope this tile comes out because I really like to do that and it will work well. It's pretty much like, this is all that's available. This person has drawn up this card or this tile, so that's what I have to work with. Instead of hoping that another tile will come out, you just work with what you got. So I really like that aspect of the game. It makes it variable, and the action selection was really interesting between players. So it wasn't too difficult to get into. We managed to read the rules, set it up, and play the game within half an hour. So definitely it's a quicker game. It has a lot of interesting decisions. We've played it several times already. We really like this game. But I haven't played Caverna yet, so I can't really compare it to that. But I thought Cave vs. Cave was a really solid 2-player game. I really enjoyed it a lot. So if you like Uwe Rosenberg and you like the whole 2-player games that he has, like All Creatures Big and Small, and he has another one, I forget. But it's supposed to be like Le Havre, but 2 players. So he makes these big games and then he makes it only for 2 players. So I like these game series a lot, and I really enjoyed the Cave vs. Cave game. So the next game I managed to play is called First Martians, Adventures on the Red Planet. Now, this game I've been really looking forward to ever since I first heard about it because it's supposed to sort of simulate what would happen if humans went to Mars. What if we tried to colonize on Mars? What will we try to do? And not only that, but how will we survive? So this game is all about that theme and just thinking about how would we exist on this planet and deal with the elements and the changes on this planet and the things that might come about. For example, like things breaking down, or things kind of being found in different spots, or dealing with food. You got to have oxygen too, and so you have all these different things that can really go wrong on this planet, and you're stuck there. So you have nothing else to depend on but yourself and your other players, because this is a co-op game. So I don't play co-op games too much. I usually play them with my partner because we really work well together. And with more players, I usually get frustrated, so it's really cool that I can play this game with my partner, and we're both into sci-fi. We both like these kind of thematic games that are dealing with, you know, space theme and kind of hopeful wishing, I guess you could say, but definitely interested with this theme. The co-op portion, not so much. However, we thought, you know, it'd be something good for us to kind of try out. Now, before we got into the game, we had to get into the rulebook, and the rulebook I thought was just, I didn't really understand it. I felt like we both read the rulebook, and after we set it up and were ready to play it, I felt like I really didn't know what I was doing. So fortunately enough, Rodney Smith from Watch It Played made a video. Now, his video helped us out a lot. After reading the rulebook and kind of going into his video and kind of figuring out, oh, that's what it meant. Okay, well, okay, fine. That could have been said easier, but, you know, I think we understand the game. So we used both the rulebook and his video in order to understand how to play the game. So after all of that and playing the game itself, we thought the game was really interesting. The first scenario that they suggest in the game, we thought was fairly easy, but I think it was just to show us how it worked. And so it comes with a whole bunch of different scenarios, and I'm really interested in figuring that out. Now, this game itself is based off of another game system called Robinson Crusoe. The cool thing about this one that's different than Robinson Crusoe is the app. It's a really cool way of just dealing with organization. And I think that's how to best use an app in board games. And I feel like the app itself didn't overtake the board game kind of like feelings and kind of compacted it into just a video game. It was a board game, and it only used the app to organize what was going on. And I really like that a lot. First Martians gameplay theme itself, I'm highly interested to see what else it has to offer and how else I can survive on this planet. So I'm definitely interested in kind of moving on and continuing this survival experiment with this game. So definitely look into First Martians if you like that kind of theme. So the last game I'll talk to you about is this game called Innovation Deluxe. Now, Innovation is a card game that is already out there. However, this game is a game that I backed about 2 years ago. It's been a while. Now, I've been waiting for this game since last year to come to me, but I finally acquired it, and it took a while, but it was well worth the wait. I can tell you right now, this was one of my favorite games that I acquired this last month because it's just so smart, the way that the cards are played out. Now, this is just a card game itself, but it also comes with 4 expansions. You have these cards, and you're trying to build a civilization of mankind by starting from the prehistoric times and all the way through the information age. And you acquire these cards along the way, and you can play them too. So you have cards in hand, you have a tableau that you're working with where you can use the actions of those cards, and you can go ahead and gather achievements too from the middle or from the special achievement card. You can score them as points too. So these cards are used in lots of different ways, and the ways that you interact with them is really interesting, and it's very take that. The first game that I played of Innovation, my partner and I, we played it, and he was just beating me down throughout the beginning to middle of the game, and then eventually I just built up and came back. And so I really enjoyed that part because it's not just like you drown out someone, but there's opportunities to kind of come back. So I'm interested in kind of figuring out how to play them better and learning the cards better. And I think with this deluxe edition, I have a lot of choices because it has all those expansions. So definitely one of my favorite games by a great designer. And if you like card games like that, I would compare this to like Race for the Galaxy and that kind of epic kind of card game. They're not similar at all, but if you're looking for a heavier card game that you know you're going to play for a long time, like Race for the Galaxy, I think this is probably going to be my next type of game like that. So that is called Innovation Deluxe. The next game is another 2-player game that I managed to play, which is called Circle the Wagons. Now, Circle the Wagons is a small card game dealing with drafting. And the cool thing about it is the fact that it's small and compact, so I can easily put this in my pocket or in my purse and take it with me anywhere. So the way that this works is it's a drafting card game for only 2 players, which usually doesn't work. But it does work in this system because you're picking a card and then you can pick the next card in line. However, if you do not want it, then you can pass it up and pick the next one in the row or in the circle. Now, if you pass any cards up, then they become available for the opponent player, so they can pick more cards. The cool thing about this game is that it also has a lot of variability because you're always trying to achieve new and different things every time you play. So it offers a lot of variability, a unique kind of drafting system, and it's very compact, so it has a lot of great things going for it. So another 2-player game that I also managed to play this month is called The Fox in the Forest. Now, The Fox in the Forest is a small trick-taking game. It's a card game that is only meant for 2 players, which is odd because trick-taking games usually require about 4 players to play, and they usually suck at 2 players. So this one I was intrigued, and I picked it up not only because it's something that's different, but also because I'm horrible at trick-taking games. So I needed something that I can get better with, and also to kind of learn some techniques with this game system. So I picked this game up, and actually I was very amazed and impressed with this game alone because I felt like it offered a lot of take that between players and trying to figure out, what do they have, what should I play, and kind of teaching me the game system itself of trick taking. So I definitely was surprised with this game, and I really enjoyed it. My partner is also horrible at this game, so it's a great way for us to kind of, play at the same level and kind of have fun with it and learn it together. So definitely a major thumbs up for The Fox in the Forest. So another game that I also managed to play this month is called Inish. Now, Inish is a game that I acquired from Epic Gaming Night. Now, Rob and the guys are a bunch of guys that love playing board games, specifically Ameritrash games. So games that are very confrontational, a lot of dice rolling, and I listen to these guys because they're super fun, and it's something that I really like about the community, that there's just so many different types of gamers, and these guys are very much in love with the community and the board games itself. So all that passion that you see in the community, you can see it in this show. It's called Epic Gaming Night. I'll leave a link below where you can follow these guys. But they threw out this contest and I managed to win it. And so they gave me this game, which is very nice of them. So in Inish, as you can see, the artwork is very different. Now, a lot of people love it and a lot of people hate it. And I'm pretty indifferent to the artwork. I don't think it's something that I was overwhelmed and just said, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. It's not something that I'm just very fond of, actually. Wasn't impressed with the artwork too much, but it is unique and different, so I do appreciate that. Now, the game itself, I played it with 2 players, and this game is a card drafting and area control. Both card drafting and area control usually don't work with 2 players, and I think that's what happened with this game. It didn't work out for us so well, so I'm really interested in trying it out with more players because I think there would be a lot more interaction and things to figure out with more players on the board. So definitely, if you're going to pick up Inish, you should try it out with more than 2 players. Try to get it with 4 players if you can. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video, and also I'm kind of showcased a lot of games this time, and I played a lot of them, so hopefully you gathered some thoughts and feelings about them. And also, if you want, you can follow me on social media like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. All the links and information's down below. And everywhere else where I contribute, like Meeple's Included and the Dice Tower, Instagamers Network. That's all there too. Another thing too is that I'm doing this one thing now. It's called coffee. You could buy me a cup of coffee too if you're interested in just tipping me. So with this kind of money, it's just a little kind of form of gratitude that I highly appreciate. So if you want to buy me a cup of coffee, well, feel free to. The link is down below and at the end of the video. So thanks so much, and I'll see you later. Bye.